You get pulled over, the lights are flashing before you, and the officer starts asking what seems like harmless questions. But what you don't realize is every word you say is being used to build a DUI case against you, even if you haven't been drinking. I'm John Cannon, a criminal defense attorney in Oklahoma, and I've seen too many cases where someone talked themselves into an arrest without even knowing it. In this video, I'll break down the 5 trick questions officers ask and show you how to answer without handing them the evidence that they're looking for. Topic 1. Have you had anything to drink tonight? This is almost always the first trick questions during a DUI stop in Oklahoma. It sounds innocent, doesn't it? But let me explain why this is a trap. Police officers know that people want to seem cooperative. They know we've been raised to be polite, and if an authority figure asks us something, the instinct is to answer honestly. Maybe just a beer with dinner, or just one a couple hours ago. It's so easy to blurt that out. Here's the truth. Any answer admitting to drinking, even a little, gives the officer a reason to dig deeper into you. In Oklahoma, officers don't need much to escalate a traffic stop into a full-blown DUI investigation on the side of the road. Your simple answer might be all they need to justify a roadside test, a breathalyzer, or even a DUI arrest. Let's talk about what happens next. If you say yes, just one, the officer puts that in the report. Later in court, that one drink can be used against you, even if your blood alcohol level is below the legal limit of 0.08. Why? Because it suggests you had alcohol in your system while driving. It gives the prosecution a head start in the case. I've seen cases where a client admitted to just one, and the entire case spun out of control. Jurors hear that, and it sticks with them, even if the science doesn't support that the person was impaired. In real life, admitting to drinking almost never helps you. So what should you say? You're not required to answer this question. In Oklahoma, you can politely decline. You can say, "I'm sorry, but I don't want to answer any questions." And yes, you can do this respectfully without creating more suspicion. Remember, the officer's job from this point on is to collect evidence against you. The less you say, the fewer tools you hand them. Remember, shut up and lawyer up when it comes to the side of the road. Question 2. Where are you coming from? This question is trickier than it seems. The officer is fishing for clues of drinking. If you say you're coming from a bar, a restaurant, a party, or even a friend's house, you've just given them another reason to suspect you may have been drinking. Let's walk through a typical scenario that we see in our office. Someone gets pulled over late at night, maybe after a Thunder game or a night out in Bricktown. The officer says, "Where are you coming from?" The driver wants to be honest, says, "I just left the tap room with some friends." That answer instantly connects you to a place where alcohol is served. The officer now has more probable cause to start a DUI investigation. Even if you haven't had a single drink of alcohol, with certain places, it raises suspicion just associating with them. You might have just been there for food or give someone a ride home, but suddenly you're in the hot seat. What if you say, "I'd rather not answer"? In Oklahoma, you're not legally required to provide that information. You must identify yourself and provide your driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance. But questions about your activities, your route, or your plans, you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to avoid volunteering information that can be twisted or used against you later. We've defended people who are completely sober but ended up in court simply because they mentioned leaving a bar. The location became the focus, not their actual behavior behind the wheel. Don't feel pressured to fill the silence or make small talk with the cop. The officer is not your buddy. They are gathering evidence against you. Number 3. Do you know why I stopped you? Now, this one is crafty. It's not about DUI directly, but it's another way officers collect self-incriminating evidence. Most people in the moment want to guess, was I speeding? Or maybe my taillight was out. The officer is hoping you'll admit to something illegal, even something minor that justifies the traffic stop. So why does this matter in Oklahoma? Here, if the officer didn't have a valid reason to pull you over, the entire DUI stop can be challenged in court. But if you admit to a traffic violation, no matter how small, the stop itself becomes justified. A client of mine once said, "I guess I was swerving a little. I dropped my phone." That admission went straight in the report and gave the state a rock-solid reason for the traffic stop. Even though he hadn't been drinking, that one sentence made fighting the case much, much harder. You don't have to guess or admit to any wrongdoing. If an officer asks, "Do you know why I stopped you?" the safest response is something like, "No, officer, I don't." You're not being difficult, you're protecting yourself. In Oklahoma, your rights matter. Don't give the officer a free pass to justify the stop, especially if you believe you were driving safely. Would you mind stepping out and taking some tests for me? This is where a routine traffic stop quickly turns into a full-blown DUI investigation. The officer might call them tests, but they're usually field sobriety exercises, like walking a straight line, standing on one leg, and following a pin with your eyes. Here's the trick. In Oklahoma, these tests are voluntary. The officer may say, "Would you mind stepping out and doing some tests for me?" Most people say yes, because the question is framed as a request, not a demand. But here's what most folks don't realize on the side of the road. These DUI tests are designed for you to fail. They're not as simple as they sound. Even completely sober people have trouble passing them, especially if you're nervous, tired, injured, or just uncoordinated. I've had clients who stumbled on a crack in the pavement, wore high heels, or just got flustered in the dark. The officer writes down every mistake. Later, prosecutors use those notes to try and argue that you were impaired. So, what are your rights here? In Oklahoma, you can politely refuse field sobriety tests, period. You can say, "No, thank you. I don't want to take any tests." The officer might not like it, but you're not breaking any Oklahoma law by refusing. It is your right to refuse field sobriety tests. Now, be aware, refusing the test may still lead to an arrest if the officer thinks that you're impaired, but you're not giving them extra ammo to use against you later in court. You're making their case harder, not easier. 5. If you're not drunk, you don't mind blowing into this, do you? This is probably the most intimidating moment of any DUI stop, the breathalyzer. The officer may say it casually, but there's a lot at stake, especially after November 1st, when a .15 BAC becomes a felony in Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, there are two types of breath tests, the preliminary roadside test and the official breath test at the station. The roadside test, the little handheld gadget, is voluntary. You can refuse to blow into it. The officer might say, "If you're not drunk, you don't mind blowing into this, do you?" As if refusal means you're hiding something. But let's be real. These devices aren't perfect. They can give false readings for all sorts of reasons. Mouthwash, breath mints, medical conditions, improper calibration. If you blow into it and it reads high, that's more evidence for the officer to use against you. Here's the key. In Oklahoma, refusing the roadside breath test cannot be used against you as evidence of guilt in court. However, refusing the official breath or blood test at the station after arrest does have consequences, like losing your driver's license potentially for 6 months or more. That's Oklahoma's implied consent law. But at the roadside, the law is on your side. You can say, "No, thank you. I don't want to take that test." The officer might press hard, but stay calm. Remember, you're protecting your rights. If you find yourself at the station and are asked to take the official test, that's a different story. Refusal at that point is a separate legal issue that you should discuss with a lawyer right away. So, what you should remember at every DUI stop in Oklahoma. Every question I've just covered, it is designed to collect evidence against you, not help you out of a ticket or arrest. In Oklahoma, you have the right to protect yourself by saying less, being respectful, and knowing when to say no thank you. Remember, shut up and lawyer up when you're being investigated for DUI. Don't let politeness put you in legal trouble. Don't fall into police traps. If you're ever unsure, it's okay to say you want to speak to an attorney. We just exposed the 5 trick questions cops ask during DUI stops in Oklahoma. Questions designed to trip you up and put you in handcuffs. Now, here's the truth. The next situation could be even more dangerous for your rights. DUI checkpoints are everywhere, and one wrong move can cost you your license, your job, or even your freedom. That's why you cannot miss my next video. DUI checkpoints in Oklahoma. Don't wait until you're standing in front of flashing lights in the rearview mirror. Click now and learn exactly how to protect yourself before it's too late.